This video, I'm going to show you how to work with 2D arrays in Java, or multi-dimensional arrays. So a multi-dimensional array, in this instance we're just working with two. You can actually have more than that. For the scope of this though, we'll always just work in either one or two. And so this is how you can declare it. You declare it like any other variable. You put the type, in this case integer, int, and so you put two of these square brackets to indicate the amount of arrays, the amount of dimensions in the arrays, which we're doing a two-dimension array. The name of the array, in this instance we're going to replicate sales for a fictional company. You have the equal sign, then the keyword new, and then the type again, and then the square brackets, and then you put the length of the array. And so it goes row, column. So just always remember that, row, column, right? So it's just going to have 4 rows and 6 columns in each row, okay? And I'm going to comment this out for a second. We'll get back to this. So if we need to figure out the length of the array, say we're working with someone else's code and we know there's a multi-dimensional array, you could use the name of the array dot length. That will give you the amount of rows. And then if you need to know how many columns are in each row, you do sales and in square brackets which particular row you want to look at, and then dot length, and that will give you the amount of columns. Now, that's assuming that your array is even, and meaning that every row has the same amount of columns. Then you can use sales dot zero, square bracket 0 dot length for every row. Because it's going to be equal amount of columns in each row. And for the sake of our learning here, we'll always use even columns, always have the same amount. So you can always use that to find the amount of columns, okay? So you'll want to use that. You'll want to know how to get the lengths of the rows and the columns for when you create for loops and then when you want to examine this multi-dimensional array. I'll get to that in a second though. Let me show you another way that you can declare an array. So you can declare and assign an array all on one line. Well, this is more than one line, but one statement of code. And so I have these, I'm going to comment this out. I have the variable sales, and instead of doing the whole new and the amount, I actually just give it the values right here. And this is visually interesting to look at because you can kind of gives you more of an understanding of what the multi-dimensional array is. It's really, think of it almost like an Excel spreadsheet or a grid, right? And so we're using this example to demonstrate sales for a fictional company, and we have 4 columns that represent each quarter's financial record, right? And so you envision this being sales in millions of dollars, let's say. So, you know, in first quarter of year 2014, they had 2 million in sales, right? And so on and so on. So we're just showing the last 3 years of sales each quarter. And so that's what a multi-dimensional array is good at doing. It's great at showing a spreadsheet style of information, or grid, if you will. So remember, just like all arrays, this is 0 based. And so if I wanted to change the sales for quarter 1 year 2014, it would be spot 00, and I can make that equal to whatever I want, and I'm changing it to 6 million here. So that's how you would do that. So just recalling that it's 0 based. And if I wanted to retrieve or print out to the screen the value from quarter 4 of year 2014, that would be this spot here. That is row 0, and column 3, because again, we're zero base, we say 0, 1, 2, 3, right? And just so you're aware as well, the last spot in a row or a column is going to be that length minus 1. It's never equal to length, otherwise you would get, here I'll kind of show you here. So if I wanted to put this in sales 0.length, that would print 4 to the screen, right? And so we actually want spot 3 because 4 would give us an error. Actually, if I ran this, you'll see that I will get an error. Yep. And it says index out of bounds 4 because it only goes up to 3. So you always use the length minus 1 to get the last spot, right? Minus 1. There we go. And I attempt to run this. There we go. And so this is the amount of rows. This is the amount of columns, right? That was these 2 lines here. And then the last spot in the first row is 5, right? And so the last thing I want to show you is if you want to kind of go through an array and print out all the spots, here I'll comment out these, you're going to use a for loop within a for loop for a multi-dimensional array, right? So it would look something like this. I have one for loop that goes through all the rows, and then I have another for loop that's going to look at each column in that row, right? And then if I want to print it out to the screen, it would look something like this: sales, row, col, right? So we're starting out at 0 in both spots. We're going up into the length. In this instance, I go to sales.length, that's the amount of rows, and then sales 0 in square brackets .length to get the amount of columns in each row. And then we print that out to the screen. And then after we look at each row, I'm doing a print ln, which is going to drop us down a line, right? And so if we run this, there you go. And so let's say I wanted to find if one of the rows was, we're looking for our, if we ever hit exactly 10 million in one. It's kind of silly that we would want to search for that, but let's see, when did we in the company's existence hit 10 million? So we're going to say if row column double equals 10, then we're going to print to the screen. And I don't need to use a bracket if I only have one line of code underneath the if statement. And we're going to just print to the screen row column for the position in the grid where that occurred. So if I run this now, and there we go. So we printed out the position. So row 1, which is actually the second row because it's 0 based, spot 3. So 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. There you go. There's your 10. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope it makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.